I'm Courtney, I'm a multidisciplinary designer at Vitamin Cornwall.
I'm Sam, I'm creative director at Vitamin Cornwall.
It's amazing to see that there's these groups of people that are actually actively trying to make positive change to our environment. So yeah, I was really excited to work with people that sort of aligned with my values.
We had no idea what a peatland was really.
Yeah.
No idea about the history of the land or the landscape or how peat was used or the impact it had. So for us it was like a huge education really.
Yeah, I watched a lot of YouTube videos about peat
Nice.
because their team was so varied in age bracket, skill, knowledge. They wanted the brand to be accessible to that wider range of people because that reflected them as a partnership as just as much as the people that they were hopefully trying to convince that this is a good partnership.
When you've got a large partnership like that, you need to be able to have a cohesive brand that you can use in communication to the members of the public to make them aware of your project so they can kind of see the impact. So I think like for us to kind of get to the heart of that story was quite important.
We got to meet Justine, Morag and some of the other partners, so like Dartmoor National Park representatives and some other people, and then it was really useful because we got to see the land that's actually being worked on. We saw some areas that hadn't been worked on.
It was cool that you brought back a little bit of moss with you and then kind of
moss.
had it in the glass in the studio, and we were just kind of pulling bits out and looking at it, and then it was a little bit gross, but it was also really quite cool to see. Yeah,
because I didn't realise how important the sphagnum moss was until the visit. It was quite a crucial part of bringing more life back into the peatlands. And when we were discussing with them on the site visit, they did say that actually sphagnum moss was quite a key part of their restoration. If they see that, then they know that it's working. So that's why we brought back a sample to see if there was any sort of organic shapes that we maybe could create from it.
The thing that makes it interesting is the different people and what they kind of bring. If you've got 6 or 7 different people and they're all coming from it slightly differently, they're all providing a slightly different opinion, and then that actually gives you a lot more to work with, I think.
And I think the discovery was really, it was quite energetic. I feel like I remember it being quite, they were really keen, especially like the tone of voice, you know, we gave them the options of like, what do you align with? And then they were arguing over who had chosen one thing.
Everyone who had their different kind of need for the brand were kind of bringing something slightly different to the table. So as far as the discovery was concerned, we were like looking at all of that, like coming together, like what they were trying to get out of what we were going to create. And I think that kind of was really interesting to get that level of information that we could then sort of take away and try to make some kind of sense of.
I actually made like a physical model. I wanted to represent the actual contours that they carve out and represent the land sort of coming in, and I thought that was a good way to represent it with the P. But actually when we spoke to them, they realised that just using the letterform P didn't represent enough.
But obviously the way that you did that one was really nice because you, like you said, you physically made it out of paper, and I think I really like the fact that you've got both versions as well, that you've got like the sunken down version, and you've got the reversed built up version as well, and like because it was directly kind of playing on topography as well, it was really nice to have those like actual physical elements that influence one of those routes. One thing I thought was like really interesting was how kind of we had to go from like really corporate like ones to really kind of a lot freer, more sort of eco-warrior ones, and we tried to sort of find that balance in between, and actually looking at them again, looking at all the routes, including like some of the typographic elements we did, you know, the weird one that I did with the peatlands that looked like a festival logo, sploosh as we affectionately called it. I actually think like we did a really great job of kind of like making sure that we covered the spectrum.
We did cover quite a wide spectrum.
And actually looking at where we've come to, it is pretty much bang in the middle. It's like it's almost like the perfect balance between like the more kind of eco-conscious element of it and the more kind of corporate that needs to appeal to the kind of diverse partnership, I guess. So.
Originally we didn't think they would go for the water drop, but then because other people saw different things within the water droplet, it meant it appeal to a more wide variety of people. I think as well we wanted to really incorporate the land, people and like water into those aspects, and they were trying to how do you build that into a route, and the topography lines were a great way to represent people coming together, the land itself, and that organicness to it.
One of the first versions that we did when we kind of settled on that route is it was very much in a single colour, and then that was one of the things that we had to ultimately evolve and change based on feedback that was kind of trickier at first.
We always want a brand to be able to be identifiable and reproduced in as clearly and as visible as possible. So the original concept was just the single line in one colour option, and it was different to everyone else because a lot of the other competitors heavily relied on the greens and the blues. But actually, when we spoke to sort of Justina Morag, they felt too detached. And so then we brought in the blues and greens again. And I think Morag wanted it to, although she wanted to stand out, she also wanted it to feel a part of the other industry. We ended up building out sort of stone hues, so everything that was the sort of the charcoal, the peat colours, and sort of the stones that you get in the land. Then there was the sky hues, so everything like the blues and the water.
I think the work you did around the application was really nice actually, because it made them realise that the brand can exist beyond where they currently saw it existing. So I think for them it was very much like it was that corporate box ticking element, that they needed it to represent something that all the partners could engage with, but actually they started looking at it from the other side, that like, but people be proud to wear a badge that represents it, so more of the eco-warrior side of things, but actually with a purpose and with some values attached to it as well that were really nice. So I think like some of the kind of applications that we proposed worked really well for them, and actually I think that really helped them to see where the possibilities of the brand could be as well.
You could see the passion from like George and from Justina Morag, from like how much it meant to them doing this.
Going through the process.
And going through the process and having something they were proud to wear of. And so I think that really filtered through into the designs, that I wanted something that they were really proud to wear, and that I was, proud to show off and be like, look at this cool brand.
Wear the beanie.
Wear the beanie. If they have a beanie, I will get the beanie. It was originally someone's idea and concept that now it has a visual identity and it has this like place in the world, which is really interesting. It's really lovely to see when brands are being used by the people that you've worked with.
In the intended way.
In the intended way,
yes. And
in the flesh, it feels suddenly like it has this like tangibility to it. It's really
life
cool.
of its own.
Yeah.
It feels real,